Hello, hello. Hi, and welcome. I'm Stephanie Mara. I'm a somatic nutritional counselor, mentor, and host of the Satiated podcast. I've been the somatic teacher at the Institute for the past decade, and I've supported women, coaches, and wellness professionals all over the world with patterns of disordered eating, emotional eating, binge eating, chronic dieting, and digestive and body image concerns. I've been published in the International Body Psychotherapy Journal, featured in Somatic Psychotherapy Today and Authority Magazine. I am there for you every day, literally every day of the training in your private Facebook group. You also receive 2 live calls with me each month to process what is emotionally coming up for you on this journey, support with integrating the material, and where you can receive supervision with your practice clients or your current clients. As you're joining, please say hi in the comments and let us know where you're joining us from. Today, I'm here with 4 of our amazing mind body eating coach graduates to discuss their experience through the training and the work they are now doing in the world since graduating. I would love to start off with introducing each of you and share when you graduated. So, Jenna, let's start with you. Ooh, go ahead and unmute yourself. Let's see here.
Yes.
There we go. Yeah.
So I know I was pressing my little unmute, and it didn't seem to be doing anything, but we're going to figure this out. Yes, we are. I graduated. Hey, everybody. I'm Jenna Johnson. I graduated in 2016, so I had that 2015, 2016 year. And I am currently, it's morphed quite a bit since graduating, but I currently consider myself an eating psychology and embodiment coach. And I love working with men and women.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yes.
Nadine, let's have you go next.
So I'm Nadine Dumas, and I am in the Cayman Islands. I graduated from the Institute for Psychology of Eating in 2017, I believe. And so I work as a mind-body nutrition coach, eating psychology practitioner, and help women transform their bodies.
Awesome. Amazing. All right, Samantha, let's have you go.
Sorry for unmute. My name is Samantha Eaton, and I graduated in 2018. And I'm the founder of, I call it the Mind Body Food Method. And it was definitely because of my own personal background with some pretty disordered eating and exercise behaviors, sprinkled with some body dysmorphia and constant negative self-talk, that I'm just so passionate about helping women find balance with their eating habits and just overcome that all or nothing thinking to feel confident with food and body choices.
Awesome. And Vanessa.
Hi, hello. I'm Vanessa Rogers. I'm based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I graduated from the Institute for the Psychology of Eating in 2013 and have been running my eating psychology practice, I think, for about 7 years full time. Individual clients and group clients, corporate presentations, but my focus is around sustainable behavior change and sort of helping women mostly understand their blocks around how to properly care for themselves and understand their wants and needs and how to get their best health outcomes. So thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, I love all of your work in the world. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I really appreciate you all being here today. So let's start off with what drew you to the Mind Body Eating Coach certification training? And how did it feel different than maybe other trainings you had done or were looking at? Anybody want to hop in first? Yeah, Nadine, go for it.
I'll go. I was actually in the bodybuilding industry for many years. And I owned a bodybuilding federation. I competed as one myself. And I worked as a personal trainer, and I helped people lose weight and transform their bodies and everything. And I just really started to see that women, especially, needed more help. And I wanted to ask more questions. And I wasn't really sure how to do that without overstepping boundaries, or what to do when I asked the question, when they gave me the answer, how to actually decipher that and figure out what to do and where to go. And it must have been around that time I had seen a girl who had taken the course. And for some reason, I remembered the name of it. And so I went and I Googled it, and I'm like, this is exactly what I need and how I want to help women. And it's completely transformed my coaching and my clients as well.
Oh, amazing. I'm really hearing just you got that opportunity to reflect of like what are these missing pieces as someone who wanted to be support in this realm, and that going through the training really gave you the opportunity to know how to ask the questions you wanted to ask. That's awesome. Jenna, you raised your hand as well. Oh, don't hear you yet. Let's see if we can.
Yeah, you hear me
Yeah,
now?
there we go.
Okay, good. Yes. All right. Hey, everybody. So, my background is in acting. And as you all are familiar with these sorts of toxic standards that are in the industry, that is what I grew up in. I always wanted to be an actor. And so I'd always had this very keen idea of where I should be, and this measuring stick that felt very personal. Like nobody was rapping me on the head telling me I needed to be a certain way, but I had this personal goal. And in 2011, 2012, after a decade plus of disordered eating, which for me specifically was nighttime binge eating, and a lot of trauma in general, I went through a huge body breakdown that led me on a huge transformational journey pre discovering eating psychology or the School of Eating Psychology. And the takeaway of like the journey that I had was that it had very little to do with putting in new practices or going through what I feel like a lot of actual nutrition programs or dietetics programs will have one do. And it was so much more of this transformational spiritual shift and a huge relational shift in how I related to people in my life, my family, and knowing that experience, like my actual purpose on the planet was also initially with acting to like have this platform to be a healer. I then started to delve into where I could look into studies to validate and then also help support what I wanted to do in the world. And I'm sure this is not just me, but we look at a lot of different schools. We maybe even think that we need to go to a grad school program to get the qualification that we feel that we need to have, to be a coach or to be a therapist. And there was just such backwards thinking with nearly every grad student program that I looked into, especially because my transformation was so anti-Western, 1960s and above sort of information about health. And this program came to me through also word of mouth. I had met somebody who had gone through a different training program, didn't find it to suffice their fuller need. And then this is then the secondary program that they found. So I just kind of leapfrogged and looked directly into this program and just found myself like melting into it, like through the pre-discovery of it. And then actually being a part of it, you just know you're home in this program. Like if you feel called already to be here, it's pretty much a guarantee that you're supposed to be. And that's just what I would say.
Oh, really beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. And I appreciate also uh, just you adding in the spiritual component as well, because I hear that a lot from our students and our graduates of just how much they were looking for something that addressed both the mind, body, spirit of the individual, and that's what they found in this training. Okay, might have lost Jenna there for a sec, but she'll be coming back. Samantha, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so by the time I came across the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, I had already been coaching clients for about 4 years at that point. I initially went to another health coach certification program, and at the time that I started there, I was working full time in a corporate job that I hated. And I just knew that I wanted to do something more aligned with my passion for health and nutrition. I just wasn't totally sure what yet. So that first school really got my feet wet in the field, but then I quickly realized how kind of diet focused it was, and it just didn't feel right to me to guide my clients with such a restrictive approach, especially given my background and struggles. So even though my clients saw great results while we worked together, afterwards, most of them just went back to their old way of eating, which is how all diets eventually end anyway, pretty much. And that just wasn't good enough for me. So I kind of broke away from their teachings and created my own way of doing things with my clients based on what I'd done myself. And a couple years later, I learned about this thing called intuitive eating, which I'm sure everyone listening to this is familiar with. But to me at the time, it was this big light bulb that went off in my head. Like there was a name for the actual kind of structure that I had been doing on my own. And I was just dying to learn as much as I could about why we do what we do with food so I could help my clients get more sustainable results. So I came across the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, and that was just the perfect fit. I completed the training while I worked with my clients, and there was just so much more information and details. And for me personally, it was those real life examples that was in the program that put those high level concepts into actual practice and just helped me feel so much more confident working with my clients and help them get these lifelong results. And it's just been so much better ever since.
I love hearing that. And yeah, we don't teach diets here. We don't teach people to go on diets. We're trying to get people out of diet culture. And I know you've even written in a bunch since you've graduated, and I can feel your passion for this work and just how transformative it has been. So I'm excited for you. Vanessa, was there anything you wanted to add before we move on?
Sure. I'll just say that I took it only as my own for my own healing course. I wasn't ready. I hated having a desk job. I knew I was built for more, but I wasn't ready to think about having it be a business. And so I threw myself into the process really deep as a student, and it completely transformed my life. And so I took the leap in business thereafter, and it's changed my life.
I actually really appreciate that you are bringing that in because a lot of our students actually take the training for themselves first. Because sometimes we need to first go on our own healing journey to explore our own relationship with our own food and our own body, and really normalizing that you are allowed to go through this for yourself. And that then something might come after later of starting a coaching practice. But there are some, like Samantha, who were practicing with their clients while they were in the training, and then others who go through the entire training just for themselves and then discover they have a passion for coaching and want to give back afterwards. So I actually really appreciate you bringing that in. So what concept did you learn that you use the most in your practice, or maybe felt like the most profound to you? Yeah, Vanessa.
I took the course so long ago. Hopefully, this is still front and center. But for me and a lot of the women I coach, what really resonates and resonated at the time was joy and pleasure and being able to have those things in your life outside of food and kind of like making space for that. Otherwise, food in a lot of my case and my clients becomes your outlet for yourself, for relaxation, for joy, for happiness, for pleasure, for stress relief. All my clients were turning to that for to help themselves cope or to help themselves feel what they wanted to feel. And honestly, being able to bring that to clients in the world and help them create this lifestyle where food doesn't have to be all those things and they can have joy in other places and healthy boundaries and spaciousness, relaxation, not just constantly doing for other people. it moves me because I feel that they get to live their life a different way, and they don't feel so trapped and relying on food for those experiences. So it's a new level of freedom that I think the course taught me that I was able to share that with others.
Yeah, that is absolutely still front and center in the training of just how much our food and body habits and patterns are messengers. And they're guiding us towards the deeper places in our life that are needing our attention. And that is so powerful for both our coaches to learn and then to pass it on to their clients because, yeah, it's instead of seeing the food or body habit and or pattern as the problem, it's actually the solution. It's, oh, this is my body's way of talking to me. And it's such a different way to view what is going on in your life. It brings in just so much compassion. So thanks so much for sharing that. Anybody else have a tool that, yeah, Jenna?
Okay, I'm petrified. I think my stuff is freezing and like my eyes are watering like crazy. I'd had incense lit in this room. Anyways, my friends, Mercury retrograde. So for sure, and I didn't expand upon this in the intro, but I love working with men and women in a very specific way. And that is that in this training program, so profound to get that we all likely have sexual wounding just for being in our body. And this goes very culturally deep. It goes very deep as far as, what gender or sexual orientation we might feel that we are. But just really allowing for this dialogue to be front and center in one's healing was huge. And the languaging that you get from this program as well to be in that specific conversation is amazing. Second huge one, though, too, is that the power that is behind whatever it is that we are suffering from, that is our power. Like, that is our power. It's just about then transmuting it. So that's the other yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. We go deep in this training. I know that Mark was just saying yesterday in his Facebook Live that we are a combination of a health coach training and a life coach training. And so that means that within the training, we explore a lot of different areas. And that can include your relationships, your physical activity, your career, your spirituality, your sense of connection, and your sexuality. We go through it all. And so, yeah, we go through a lot of different, very powerful things that maybe not a lot of individuals have kind of connected to, oh, this food and body pattern I have could actually be connected to this whole other area of my life. So aside from, oh yeah, Samantha, go for it.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to add real quick on what you just said. Absolutely. That was totally something that blew my mind when I first started this. And I didn't feel super comfortable with it, but I think it's always just helpful for me to know that like you don't need to have all of the answers to it. You need to ask them the right questions, get them thinking deeper, and they'll make their own connections. It's such a collaborative experience. But what I was going to add was one of my biggest takeaways that I talk about all the time with my clients is just the massive impact that stress has on our body and how there's so many stressors that we're putting on ourselves. It's not like paying the bills and all this. It's like those self-imposed type stressors. Like food will make me fat. Food is the enemy. Appetite is the enemy. Like hating your body. All of those things are things that you have control over. And by continuing to live in that stressful state, that's impacting your body in like 50 different ways that he gave. And that was such a mind blower to me. I talk about that all of the time with my clients, and it's just so powerful. And it's changed my life, and it's changed everyone that I work with's lives.
Yeah, we talk a lot about stress in the training a lot because it's just a lot of the times in potentially other trainings, we're looking at stress as, again, the problem. And if stress is actually our body's way of talking to us, it's like, oh, let's get curious about why we're having this kind of reaction and what it's here to teach you. And when we actually start seeing stress in this new light, like you said, there's a lot of different ways that stress affects our body that maybe we haven't even connected, and why we react that particular way, that there could be a lot of healing there. – Nadine, did you have any last things you wanted to add?
The other girls really covered a lot of it, but did you call them the dimensions in the course? Is that what they were called? The 10 dimensions or 10 colors? Or I can't remember what they were called. But even just through conversations with my clients, I have always had all of those 10 in the background. And so you listen to a conversation, and instead of just focusing on weight or focusing on what you're eating or your exercise, you start to listen to what it is that they say. And I find that those 10 dimensions you can now just kind of run through your mind as a person is talking, and you can give them a little bit more insight into what it is that they're saying and how they're feeling and what their results are, if it's on the scale or whatever it is. But you can break things down in a much deeper level. And that's what I found from the course, is that you can really learn how to listen in between the lines and offer information that is something that a lot of people really have not heard before, and really start to change the mind and reset the mind for them. So it's probably all of those dimensions.
Yeah, we offer very specific questions to keep in mind around things of like, where is your client being called to grow? And like things that you can keep in the back of your head as you are in a session, so that, like you mentioned, it can be a guiding light for you that if you're feeling a little stuck, that we offer a lot of different tools and tricks throughout the training of how to also, for you as a coach, to get unstuck in the moment. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So, aside from the training of how to coach and work with others, did you experience any personal transformation on this journey? And I'd love to start with Vanessa of just, you said you really took this training for yourself, and I'd love to hear of kind of the transformation that you saw for yourself in just having that intention from the beginning of the training.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure everyone who's been through the program really transforms, and our panel for sure. I'll just say that I didn't even know what I was struggling with. I just knew I was struggling. I just knew so little about food and body and wellness and health, and it was like a newer industry in the around then. So I had been a college athlete. I never knew how to take care of my body. I had suffered from disordered eating, actual eating disorders, emotional eating, dieting, which I could never figure out, and like hating myself for not being able to figure it out. And even just listening to Mark tell his story, I'll never forget it. Like, it was the first virtual learning class I ever did, and I didn't know how that was going to go. It was so comfortable to like be in my home and get to learn about these things and listen to Mark talk. And what he shared, I identified with so much. And I had this like major aha moment that might sound small, but it was, I'm not the only one. Yeah. And so I was like healed after that. I mean, it's a journey, right? But it was so powerful. I saw my entire self differently after listening to him, probably one of the first times of like the lectures that he did in the course. Um, and I started to like myself. I started to see myself and like myself more, and start to figure out who I am and what am I like, and I don't have to hate the things that I do. And it was really transformative for me on every level.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing honestly about that piece of your experience. And like, I even felt a little teary eyed while you were talking of like, I started to like myself. Like, how powerful is that? And that, yeah, I find that a really powerful part of this journey is how many individuals get the experience of they're not alone. Like, you get this amazing community to be like, wow, you do that too, or you've gone through that too, and I'm not the only one who did this. And that can be really powerful. It really decreases, I sense, like just a lot of shame and judgment and personal guilt of like, oh, why did I do this? And it's just like, oh, I did this because it was the best strategy that I had, and I did the best that I possibly could, and other people are going through this as well. Samantha, you wanted to add something.
Just a super little thing. I completely agree with that. But I also, so I had that for myself. And that kind of started a couple years before my journey, but it definitely highlighted even more areas of things that like I thought were like normal, but that weren't. But I also kind of had that opposite where I started to realize like how so many people have these struggles. Like, they just don't realize it. It's like we've all normalized it because they're so common, but it's like, it doesn't have to be this way. And it just made me even more inspired to just want to help people and want to kind of set it right. Because I know for my own journey, like I felt like I'd been like lied to for so many years by the diet industry. It's like I was doing all these things I thought were healthy, but like, no, eating calories is a good thing, eating fats is a good thing. And just there are so many people that were still in that mindset, and so many people. And I just felt so bad that they didn't know like the other side of it. So it just made me want to help them so much more and really fuel my passion for that.
Yeah, thanks for adding that. I think it's a little mind blowing that also when you start seeing, like, wow, so many individuals are struggling with this. And I find that it brings a lot of this internal inspiration for a lot of our mind body eating coaches to want to give back even more. Like, this community is like the change makers of like something's got to change. Like, diet culture needs to go away. and we're all doing that. Okay, so there are a lot of health coach trainings out there. And what did you feel set this training apart? Even if you were looking at other trainings, what particularly drew you to this one? Yeah, Vanessa.
It's exactly what's missing in every program out there. It's exactly what the world doesn't have on a large scale. It speaks to sustainability and relationship with self and relationship with body. And I have not seen that anywhere else, especially in going so deep in those areas. And so if that's your calling, that they have that, right? But it also gives you so much leverage in business. If you're looking to have a business, you have a really powerful specialization that separates you from anyone else's training or anyone else's coaching, that allows you to go deeper with someone. And I really think that it's looking at those areas around our behaviors and the psychology behind them that allows someone's change to last and to sustain. So I never want my clients to need me after, a term or two. Like, I want them to go and live their lives and have their own tools, and they don't ever need a coach again, ideally you're right, at least an eating psychology coach, because these are strategies that last. And I don't know, that makes me feel really good about the work I'm doing in the world.
Yeah, I think it's really cool when individuals start saying, I'm a mind body eating coach. I got certified at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. Individuals are like, the psychology of eating? That sounds fascinating. What is that? Tell me more about that. And so just to your point of it really sets you apart. And just in regards to the business piece, we have an entire business module, and you get specific business calls through the training because yes, we want to support you in being the best coach that you can be. And at the same time, there is the business of having your coaching business and how does one do that? So we support you every step of the way and also building that as well. Anybody else have anything they wanted to add? Yeah, Jenna.
There we are. Yes, at the time that I was going through the program, this was not also something that I added, but I was in like a different shape in my body than I'd ever known myself to be, and was so already like, I will not restrict self. I will not put self on diet. This is my body. Like this is my body, whether or not it's industry standard or not. Like, I'm embracing it. And this program was such a, like, I just remember the most profound sort of download for me was that no matter what we're experiencing, no matter what body we find ourselves in, we are meant in that body to take up all the space that we're meant to take in that world. in that body world in our life. And then it is through that any shift that's meant to happen will happen. And that it won't be in the trying to fix self whatsoever, but to really embrace exactly who we are, where we are. So there was just this whole new embrace of who I am. And since that point, it's been that like my body has continued to morph, but it's never come from self-attacking, and just really getting that the self-attacking was a stressor that I was experiencing for so much of my life, that actually for me as a very sensitive bodied person was extremely like would be the reason why my body would be inflamed or not. And yeah, so just really learning to love the space that I get to inhabit in the body that I have.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that in. We have an entire module on body image. It is such a huge topic that so many individuals struggle with. I think probably most people are on some spectrum of how do we be in this body exactly as it is, no matter its shape, its size, whatever. How do we start to embody this body and allow it to be okay just as it is? And it's a big thing that we go through in the training and support individuals with. And even that any coach in or any person in any body can coach. There is not a specific look to be a mind body eating coach, and everybody who feels drawn to doing this work deserves to follow that call. So I appreciate you bringing that in. So do you feel if someone didn't have a background in nutrition at all and came to this totally new, maybe looking for a career change, do you feel the training was comprehensive enough for someone who maybe doesn't have a background in this, but they want to follow a different path in their life? Seeing a lot of head nods. Yeah, Nadine.
Sure, I'll go. I think one of the things that I have found through what it is that I do, and also just the responses from my clients, probably the first and foremost thing that you need to have when you are coaching is the empathy and the understanding of people, being able to listen to people, being able to pick up on energies, and a lot of stuff will just fall into place from there. I do think that there is, like, to be honest, there is an understanding of nutrition that you do need to have, but I don't think that it's the overarching part of it. I really think that a person is going to succeed with this, with having the empathy and just being able to listen and being able to understand people. That's what people want. People want to be heard and people want to be listened to. So that's probably the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, thank you for that. Like, you do not need to have a background in nutrition. We do cover a lot of pieces in the training itself. And that if you already are feeling called to this because you have been maybe the go-to person that everyone is like, oh, I just feel so much calmer after talking to you. Or the person that you just like have this huge heart and you cannot help yourself when others around you are struggling, you want to be there and you want to support them. Like, already you have the groundwork of that's what we do as coaches, is we give a safe space for other individuals to feel heard and seen and held and safe just to show up as themselves. So I really appreciate you sharing that piece. Samantha, did you have something? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would definitely say that this is just such a great and well-rounded foundational program, regardless of what your background is. This type of work is and will continue to be in such high demand, with diet culture not showing any signs of slowing down anytime soon. But definitely remember, you don't have to feel super fully confident in every single bit of information, including nutrition, before you even start coaching. As long as you're a few steps ahead of your clients on their journey, you're going to be just fine. It's meant to be such a collaboration between you and your client anyway, not just the coach just telling someone what to do. And of course, IPE will make sure that you have all the knowledge and tools to do so in an effective way. And we even went over nutrition basics in the protocol as well. Or the program as well. So you can always go deeper into that on your own, but there's enough there at least to get started.
Oh, thank you so much for normalizing that of just, yeah, you don't have to have it all memorized. You don't have to, like, we honestly tell all of our students that halfway through the training, we recommend that you start taking on practice clients so that as you are in the training, you get support from myself and Mark every single week, every single day, while you are working with individuals. And it's in the practice of showing up as a coach that you enhance your skills over time, but that you don't have to have it all memorized or figured out or even be completely healed yourself to start stepping into this role now. Yeah, Vanessa, I see you nodding. Did you have something to add?
Just when you said you don't have to be completely healed, when are we completely healed anyway? Sometimes we can hold ourselves to that type of standard. Who am I? What position would I be in to give advice? But with this training, you are very well positioned, even as someone still continuing your own healing journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we go into a little bit in the training around like the wounded healer, of that we really get to start to see our own wounds as something that has offered us a lot of wisdom and a lot of insights to then be able to pass that forward. So, as you all experience, this training is long distance. I know a couple of you have mentioned that. And so, everything is virtually, everything is online. And how did you feel supported and connected during the training? Did it feel like, oh, I'm off just on my own? Or, how connected did you feel to the community and supported, even though it was a virtual training? Yeah, Jenna.
So to speak specifically to the overwhelm that can sometimes come from the feeling as if you need to be super active on a Facebook thing and super active over here, and because we're bombarded with this social media world, I want to put out that you are going to participate. Just trust yourself. You're going to participate to the level that you need to in order to get everything out of it that you need. I found myself not so active on the Facebook chat, but what I really found was that what I needed at the time of my training was to be in my own slowdown. And I got to take my lessons on my walks. I got to process while in movements. Like, there was such a beauty to being able to absorb in the way that I personally needed to. And then, as we've also said, like, you get to go back to this information years later if you need. Like, you will. And it's always there for you. And you're really taking it in at the pace and the timing that you need. And then there is also such an acceptability now to anything that's distance learning, right? Because we've all just gone through the pandemic. There's no shame, no shade in this type of learning anymore. Whereas there was, I would say, like, there is a hint of that earlier on, pre-pandemic. And you still get supported. Like, I go to the Facebook group often and just learn so much from my fellow coaches in the alumni group. And you do get to meet your people, like in the one live that we do have together at the end of the course. It's so impactful to be in a room full of your other fellow alum, or, well, of your now to be alum, um, friends from across the world you make. Like, it's unbelievable. So you do get this beautiful dual aspect.
Yeah, I appreciate you just bringing in of everyone will be on their own unique journey through the training, where some individuals really go internal, and then there is the Facebook page that we offer, and we have live calls pretty much every single week of the training. And so as much as you want to get involved, you can. And then when you kind of need to go off and process, you can do that too, and then come back whenever. And then when you graduate, like you mentioned, we have the Facebook alumni group, which is a fantastic community that is very active, and you are continued to be supported regardless of how long it has been since you graduated. Nadine, I thought I saw your hand go up as well.
Yeah, I didn't really actively participate in a lot of the things like the Facebook group or even the live, but it was only because I had a very short period of time every day that I had to myself. I had a 5-year-old at that time, and I was still running my company at that time. So and I also live on the tiniest island. So there's no way that I'm going to be able to like attend a class live or anything like that. But I was able to do it every single morning. And it was when I was by myself, no one was awake. And I would listen to all of the lectures, I would write all of my notes, and I was able to just kind of absorb it on my own time and then just go on with my day after that. And that's exactly what I needed and what worked for me as well.
Yeah, I hear from a lot of our coaches around how much at the end of the 8 months that they're like, I'm going to miss Mark's voice. Because if you've been listening to Mark while cleaning the dishes, and you've been listening to Mark while you're driving in the car, and you're listening to Mark while you're on your walks outside or your first thing in the morning, that it just becomes also this very consistent thing in your life that regardless of how much you connect with others, you're connecting with Mark every single day. Samantha, you wanted to add something.
Yeah, I definitely miss Mark's voice. Um, so I am kind of different from the others. I was very involved with the Facebook group and the lab calls, and I'm definitely someone where if I'm going along, trucking along, and all of a sudden something doesn't make sense, I need an answer to that before I can move on. Like my brain just kind of gets stuck in that. So, where with other programs, I wasn't necessarily able to get that information, but in the Facebook group, everything was so quickly, and with the lab calls, like so fast. And even now, I'm pretty great self-sufficient and all of that, but every once in a while something will come up with a coaching client and I'm like, you know what? I could just use some other input from some other like-minded coaches. And I'm able to post in that group, and within like minutes sometimes I'm getting advice, feedback. It's just a great way to collaborate with other coaches where, here in North Carolina, there's no one that I know that does this. So it's a really great supportive community and feel.
I'm so glad to hear that. And yeah, we are very responsive here. And so I am literally in the Facebook page 7 days a week, even on the weekends. And so as soon as I can possibly respond back to someone who has a question, I respond back as fast as I can. Because yeah, sometimes I have seen individuals reach out and are like, I have an intake with someone in 30 minutes. Is anyone here that could answer this question really quickly? And I know in the alumni group, it's both me and it's coaches who have been in this field for years and years and years that will hop right in and help out and answer your questions and make sure that you're supported. And so I appreciate you naming that as well, as just like there's a really strong community here. So I would love to move on to hear more details around all of your coaching practices now, and what kind of clients do you work with? What does your coaching practice look like? And let's just start with Nadine. I'm curious, like, how long did it take you to set up your practice as a coach, and what was that process like for you?
So I was working as a coach for 10 years before I got into um, the eating psychology. And so I did already have kind of a platform of clients, but it was a different type of clientele than what I really wanted. And fast forward now to where I'm at, I work with a lot of C-suite women. So CEOs, CTOs, vice presidents, politicians, producers, filmmakers, that kind of thing. So I tend to work with people who, for lack of better words, sometimes are in a man's world and have to hold themselves very high, and also have to raise a family and keep a roof over their heads and make sure everyone's fed, and all of these kinds of things. So there's a lot of pressure on my clients. And I actually come from an accounting background. I was an accountant before I even moved into the health and wellness side of things. So very much understand that side of things. But the majority of my clients are your typical C-suite person. And it's so incredibly rewarding working with them. So incredibly rewarding. And that's probably it, I guess. Um, yeah, I can't really think of anything else to add.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like such important work to be doing in the world, just to be supporting individuals in stepping more into their empowerment is what I'm hearing, and finding what's going to feel most sustainable and nourishing to them. Yeah. Samantha, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So my clients are mostly women with some men here and there. They're usually in their 30s to 40s. They tend to be very hardworking and open-minded, driven, and just kind of these overachievers in life, which really to them makes their food and body struggles that much more frustrating to them. They're like, I'm successful in all of these other areas. Food should be easy, body should be easy. Why am I struggling so much with this? They also struggle with their self worth, their confidence, and a lot of the times, a big place that's coming from is past tried and failed diets. They don't understand like why this thing that should be so easy and clear cut, why they keep failing, what's wrong with me, that kind of thing. And that, of course, has a big impact on our self confidence and self esteem and all of that. And because of that, too, they're really hard on themselves. There's so much negative self talk and all of that going on. They definitely come to me feeling very overwhelmed, really wanting that support and guidance and accountability to get unstuck and end their sabotaging struggles. Um, so for my program itself, I typically do 6 months, custom coaching, meeting them where they are, helping them get where they want to go. I'm definitely someone that loves structure. So while each session is very like, to the flow, for me, having kind of like a background structure to fall back on, worst case scenario, just gives me that much more confidence. And I was definitely able to take all of the learnings from the program and use that to kind of create it based on where we talk about initially to help them get where they want to go.
Yeah, such important work you're also doing in the world. And, how many individuals are just navigating, stepping more into their body and their self confidence. And that also includes exploring, how do I find a more peaceful relationship with my food and my body? Yeah, Vanessa, let's have you go next.
Yes, sure. So I've been running group programs. I've been doing private coaching. I have 2 published books that I authored. I have an online self-study program. And recently I was hired by a healthcare startup, which is a bigger passion of mine at this point. That is, they have me write and create presentations for them every week on food and body relationship, which is a real testament to how this is starting to really catch on. And their clients are large scale, blue chip organizations that have workers who come from different socioeconomic backgrounds. So I'm basically able to help sort of educate on wellness and also mind body eating to individuals who wouldn't have access to to private coaching. And I do that every week. So that has been like sort of a new venture that has been really exciting as well. But my niche was women who had parents that were suffering from addiction. So that was people who grew up kind of being the parent, and also in doing so didn't have a great example or a great experiencing and learning how to care for themselves and nourish themselves properly. So that was my focus around private and group coaching as well.
Ow! I'm like thrilled for how your career has just like ebbed and flowed, and like all the cool things that you're doing now. Jenna, let's have you go.
Wow, I love this so much because also what this points to is that everybody is coming in already with what they need, like their goal that then this program just helps sift, right? So we're all working with such specific types of people that we even have like terms for them. Similarly, my sort of background is definitely in being placed in a body that I was like in no agreement with whatsoever, like refused for my body to have periods, refused for my body to like form a certain way. Like I was just in such resistance to my body. So as I've coached, I definitely attract and work very specifically with people that have a very strong resistance to the body that they've been given. So really working and embodying in that body. And then also being in a very sensitive system also all of my life, like taking into account that that wasn't just me. Like, I'm in response to a very troubled world. And so working with sensitives, like those that really are impacted by the environment, who are impacted by, you know, worldwide worldwide pain, you know? So working in that, and then also specifically with autoimmunity, digestive issues, candida overgrowth, like a lot of very specifics is what I came into the program with, and that's who I in general also work with, as well as nighttime binge eating specific people. And I really also love creating spaces for men to delve into this work. So I began conversation series with both men and women where we could really get together and dialogue over sexual wounding. So my coaching is turned into parts like creating spaces for conversation and events and like just active healing face to face with an other, as well as one-on-one coaching that I usually do in 3-month type structured packages, because I do feel like there's no time that you can actually put on one's healing, but it is always a productive thing to put a safe container around you and a client, because then you know that you have this frame of time to really delve in and just trust each other in and not be judging each step of the process within. Yeah, so a little blend of structure and also just free form and creating spaces for conversation.
That is awesome. And I also agree with exactly what you were saying is you all have such unique backgrounds and are doing such incredible work in the world in your own unique way. And it's all expressed itself really differently, which just shows that there are a lot of different ways to do this work and a lot of different ways to bring this work out into the world. And so I'm wondering if someone is worrying that they can't be a coach. Like, I know a lot of you have brought in of your personal journeys that you even went on in your healing of because of their eating habits or their body image or fear or putting themselves out there. Like, what piece of wisdom would you offer them? And I'd love to kick that off with Vanessa.
Yeah. So if someone is concerned about their own struggles, is that what you're asking? Yeah. And before they become a coach, I would say that's a guarantee. Like, we are all going to have those concerns. It's part of being a human being and having your own healing journey. I would say it's really important to do your own work. And by going through a program like this, you are so supported and so educated and guided through your own work, right? So apply it to yourself if you see an opportunity for that. And then I would just say, don't wait. Like, don't let it stop you. You, especially after this program, are going to have so many incredibly powerful ways to help people grow and heal and shift just by creating the space. That don't wait, because it's really powerful work. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, I love that. I think that don't wait is so powerful because how often do we let that little tiny voice in our head of like, oh, I'll start this when, I'll do this when, and it just halts us where we are. And if you feel the call now, you can take a baby step now. And it might be the baby step of doing this training. And then we are there for you every step of the way, holding your hand, and that you get to let your journey unfold and evolve. And you don't have to know where this is going. That's okay too. Anybody else? Yeah, Samantha.
I was just thinking about really similar, to what she said is kind of lean into that uncertainty and just accept that it's going to feel uncomfortable and it's going to feel weird, especially in the beginning. But really focus on the bigger picture of why you want to do it and let that kind of pull you forward. This really is such an incredibly rewarding job. You get to watch people who have been struggling for, in many cases, most of their lives, finally find the freedom that they've been looking for, finally get their lives back from the grip that diet culture has had on them so they can use all of their new mental space and energy for other things that they're passionate about. And while it can definitely be struggling at times, no job is, I think, struggle or stress free. I think it's just so worth it in the end.
Yeah, it's something that Mark talks about through the training is starting with the end results now. And if you feel this draw towards being a coach, like try it on today. Like look in the mirror and say, I'm a coach. And like notice how that feels in your body. If you feel really kind of giddy or excited, that might be some information of, oh, okay, I may not be there today, but I could start stepping into the embodiment of I could be a coach right here, right now. And what would be the next baby step I could take to start living that now? Oh, so I just loved sharing this last hour with you all. What a powerful conversation. Thank you to Nadine, Vanessa, Samantha, and Jenna for sharing your experience with everyone. And I don't want to leave today without letting everyone know, how can individuals follow up with you and learn more about the amazing work that you're all doing in the world? Nadine, let's start with you. How can individuals learn more about you and your work?
Sure. So they can just go on to nadinedumas.com, which is NADINEDUMAS.com. All of my information is there. It leads to all of my social media and a lot of the articles. Same thing. I have some books that I've written as well, and there's a lot more information on there. So it's probably the best place for people to find me.
Wonderful. Samantha.
You can go to my website. It's healthyeaton, EATON, my last name.com, or on TikTok and Instagram, it's Find Balance with Food, but with periods after each word.
Great. Vanessa.
Yeah, my website is vanessacrogers.com. And Instagram is at well.nessa, Nessa. Thank you.
Wonderful. And Jenna.
Wow, so creative. I love all these. So being a multi-hyphenate, that's an interesting thing to, be a coach as well as these other things. And I'm in the process of blending, just like being all of myself in all of my arenas. On Instagram, I'm Jenna J, JENNA JAI. And there I do share from a self-expression space, because that's actually been the healing sort of driver for me all of my life, and where I really stand in no matter what I'm up to. So I share eating psychology, embodiment, and acting and dancing there. And then my website specifically for coaching is healinglooksgoodonyou.com.
Awesome. And we are going to drop their website information in the chat as well, so you can follow up with all of these amazing graduates. And if you're listening to this and have yet to connect with us on social media, you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, and LinkedIn at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, and on Instagram at Eating Psychology, and at mindbody_nutrition. And you can connect with me personally at _Stephanie Mara, MARA. So thank you again to our graduates for sharing everything you did with us today. This was such a powerful call. I always love connecting with our graduates. This is my favorite community in the whole world. And as a reminder, our upcoming June 2022 term begins June 15th, which is very soon. And the deadline to apply is June 8th. So that is coming up in a few days. Once accepted, you'll have until Friday, June 10th to make your final decision. The training is by application only, so if you'd like to apply for the training, you can do so at the link we'll be also dropping in the comments. If you'd like to book a consult call with one of our enrollment advisors, you can do that literally anytime. They're 20-minute free consultations to help answer any questions you have about the training. We're dropping a link for that in the comments as well. And there are some fantastic individuals that you can talk to and connect with, even if you have worries or concerns or fears that come up. They're happy to spend 20 minutes on a phone call with you, just talking through that with you. So in tomorrow's event, Mark will interview another one of our graduates, Maria Montemayor, food psychology coach and functional nutrition expert. Maria will share how the unique body of the work she learned in the Mind Body Eating Coach certification training completely changed her life, both personally and professionally. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you all tomorrow, and thank you again for tuning in and being here with us. If you have any questions about the Mind Body Eating Coach certification training or literally anything else, reach out to us anytime at info@psychologyofeating.com. Anytime. We get back usually within 24 hours, and we love connecting with you all. So thank you so much again for being here and tuning in, and I will talk to you all again soon. Bye.